Hey everybody, welcome to Ministry Toolbox. In today's episode, we're going to talk about church branding and how it's easy to do and why it's something that churches should be taking a look at. Church branding seems to be one of those things that a lot of people might be talking about and no one's really sure why or how we should be doing it. The whole idea behind Ministry Toolboxes is you can improve a lot of things that you're doing in your church for not a lot of time and almost no investment of money for the most part. And that's what we want to talk about, kind of remove some of the veil of this needing to be a very big, expensive, complicated thing to do for something in your church and show you how to do it for a little time and a little bit of money if needed. Most of the stuff's not going to cost us anything, but we're going to walk through those together. The whole idea behind branding and why it is we do what we do is it's a quick way to improve the way your church kind of appears in the public specter, whether it's social media or if it's in your print media, so that when something like a publication or a post or a poster or a billboard or a TV ad or radio ad, whatever it is, goes live, it's instantly connected with your church, your mission, and your identity. So people recognize you as you. I always like to think whenever McDonald's introduces a new burger, it's always the Mc something. So that you always know the McChicken, the McDouble, the Big Mac. They always have a lot of the same connotation to McDonald's through the way that they use their verbs and the way they describe stuff via the colors, the word choice, the way the ads themselves are shot. You instantly have instant recognition with those things. And so as a church, that's a good way to increase your engagement and let people recognize your church quickly and potentially even connect in a different way, in a more cohesive way. It's about unifying the message, defining your vision. Branding is important because it makes a memorable impression, so people go, oh yeah, I remember that place, or I remember that thing, and it sets expectations for what's going to come from your church. And so, a church with not so great looking logos or typeface or the way they engage in the social media, etc., it can say something about what someone might expect when they were to come in the church, and it might be saying something that you're not liking. If none of it's put together or put well, people might think that's the prevailing idea that the church has, is not put together or not done well. And so we want to combat that easily, cheaply, together. This doesn't have to be an expensive marketing tactic that only giant churches can use. Everybody from giant mega churches all the way down to a little country church can utilize these same ideas and connect in a better way through their branding strategies. It's about creating, again, a clear image and a personality so that no matter what you put out, it connects back to you. And this isn't just, a lot of people will think it's logo only. This isn't just logo. This is color selection. This is typeface. This is the way you lay out print media. This is the word choices, the way that you type and say different things, all being unified together. And so we're going to look at a couple different things, and you're going to see here my Imagine Church Ministry branding document guide, and we're going to walk through some pieces of it and kind of highlight a few different websites, and so we're going to highlight a few different things, a few different websites that can help generate some of these ideas and create a more cohesive branding guide for your ministry. So you'll see here on page 1, Imagine Church Ministry. I'm in Pages. I'm a Mac guy, but I have a downloadable template you can download. It's for a made-up church that has some pretty bold colors as their selections, and you can download that and replace the items in it with your own things once you get to these decisions. But here's what I have for Imagine Church Ministry. First thing at the top is just the generic lockup or the logo. We'll talk about that so you know right what you're talking about. It's got our 3 typefaces and their purposes on there. So again, this is the summary page. We'll go through all this in big detail. And then it's our color palette. So the primary colors and then our secondary color palette. So you might notice on a few things we use some different colors with our logo, etc. And that's all defined here. So yeah, as you work through it, page 2 kind of looks at those different pieces and what it is that they are for and how we best use them. So here for Imagine Church Ministry, we have this sort of, I call it the multi-triangle. So it's, one of those old games, how many triangles do you see in this picture? It's this lockup of this, infinity staircase triangle lockup right there as our logo, the word mark, which is just the text part of the logo, which can stand by itself, is Imagine Church Ministry, and then that primary lockup, the way that we like these two things put together the best, set like that. So you can see the way those are guided, and then basic use and guidelines, how people should need to be using these primary things, etc. How to use them should always be reproduced from original image graphic software, and that's the first thing we're going to talk about. So you might not know this, but there's a couple different file types. You probably heard PNG, JPEG, AI, EVS, all these different graphic file types. Some of them are rasterized, which means, or bitmaps, and so they are literal, like in this pixel it's this color, in this pixel it's this color, in this pixel it's this color. And so if you've ever taken an image and you scale it up real big, it can get really pixelated looking. So those are non-vectored images, so they need to be reproduced at a size that the image intended. We like non-bitmapped image, like vector image graphics, which are .pdf, .evs, .ai, which is from Adobe, and those use math so they can scale infinitely. So no matter how big you blow it up, it'll always look real good and real crisp and real clean. And so we like to use those as kind of the storage file for them, and then you can export from your graphic image the file size that you need to print. So if you're printing a billboard, you can export a really big file. If you're printing it on a microscope lens, it can be very small, and it looks good no matter what size it is. So a couple different pieces of software that are useful for creating and curating these images. One of them is online. It's totally free. It's for the most part, it's Canva, so you can sign up for a free trial. And you can create and design and share all sorts of different things. There's presentations, from videos, Instagram posts, Facebook posts, posters, logos, flyers. I know lots of people in the ministry world that use Canva to create so many of their graphics, created their logos on it to do that. And so one of the best tools for that is right here. So if you need to design and create and share a logo, Canva is a great option. If you've got a little bit of money to spend, I actually use Affinity Designer, Photo, and Publisher. They're not free, but they are very inexpensive compared to something like Adobe, which is a monthly subscription. A little bit of a learning curve on this. Another good alternative is if you're on Mac is, like I said, Pages is fantastic. I use Pages for a lot of things. And so when you're creating a graphic and Word typeface to go with it, think about what do you want it to say, what do you want it to look like, draw lots of things, get lots of feedback, and see what you get from it. But that's a good tools to design and create right there. Again, just a few things on this with the logo before we continue on. Avoiding bad usage of it, just something to guide that a lot of people get frustrated when they see, but always make sure you're using it in the right ratios. So you're not skewing it, you're not stretching it, you're not adding shadows, you're not turning it on angles, right? We really always want our logo to look nice, so it's always around with lots of clear space and always looks very, very good how we have it. And then something else to do is to pick those color palettes of the colors that you want to represent. So old school McDonald's, yellow and red, of course. A lot of people know those. The Colts, if you're from Indianapolis or Indy area, they have Colt blue and white. They have colors that as soon as you see it, you go, oh, that's the Colts. That's McDonald's. That's Imagine Church Ministry. That's this church. That's that church, right? That's sort of what you're looking for. So here I've got the color palette that I use for my stuff for Imagine Church Ministry. So you have your primary and your secondary, and then white, because we use that more than you think. And here's a cool way to kind of find some cool color palettes to take a peek at. So we're going to go back over onto the web, and we're going to take a peek at colors.co. This is actually how I found all these different ones that I use. So start the generator, and it will just pull up color palettes in colors that match and look real nice together. And what you can do is you can shuffle a whole bunch. You can lock in a few things. So if you say, boy, I really like this opal, you can lock that there and just hit spacebar and it'll shuffle to find some more things that look real good. And if you find another one, you go, oh, that Star Command Blue is real nice, you can keep shuffling and try to find those things that look real nice. And before you know it, you might shuffle yourself into a really nice looking color palette. So if there's already a color that you use a lot in your logo, that you use it in the design, you can pull it up and you can try to find that image as best as you can. So copying in the different hex codes, which I'll show you in a second, you can type in. So if you want to start with white, you can put white in, and there you go. Now you've been able to shuffle and find things that work for you. So that's colors.co. So here I've got all of mine. Once I found the palette that I really liked, I copied down those hex codes that are set at the bottom of colors, and I put them in here. And then inside of almost any of your word processor things, you can actually get the rest of these color values. So if you click on it here, you can see my color wheel, and I've got my RGB 73, 93, 99, which is red, green, blue. That's how much red, how much green, and how much blue is going into it. HSB is hue, saturation, and brightness. So it's degrees, percentages as well. And then your hex code is like a direct call for that exact color code. So that's the easiest way to always recall colors. And then CMYK is cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. And this is what printers actually read to recreate that color, because they have cyan, magenta, and yellow and black in their prints. So you have how much cyan, how much magenta, how much yellow, and how much black to create this color here. And so you just find your color, copy the HSLs and put them into here, and use these to remember how to recall those colors to use in so many different things. So here's the color palette. And then the last thing we want to talk about with this is typeface and typography. So unifying your typeface and typography for web, for printed materials, for billboards, posters, anything you're going to publicize out is just another little nod to help draw everything together into one kind of, again, unified brand. So people see it, they go, that's definitely Imagine Church Ministry. So to find some cool typefaces, again, we're going to go to the old websites, and this is called fontjoy.com, and it's font pairings made super simple. So if you find, you can just generate and find some fonts. You can change a few of the things you like. So you want a balanced contrast, really high contrast, things to look very similar. So if I do this, you'll get things that look a lot more clean and all the way through. I like really balanced. And you just kind of shuffle it until you find one you really enjoy. So let's say, you finally get to here and you go, oh man, I really like this Sanchez font at the bottom. You can lock it and just keep generating, and it'll find things that work in these beautiful pairings to give you this nice look. And then you can just download the fonts, install them in, and it's fantastic. I mean, it's the way I found so many great fonts that I've used for so many things. So you can pull up PT Sans on Google Fonts and download the family and install it into your font book. And that's how it works. So really importantly, inside of, let me go back here. Inside of here, so we've got your primary typeface and your secondary typefaces and the different header sections. So the primary typeface is what's the body of the text. So it's what's the majority of the small regular print. So if you think of reading a book, it's the book text. It's the text inside the book that you're reading. Your header typeface is what's used as the header sections. So you'll see here I use dosis as my header and Tavirage as the body text. And then I have a third one on there. It's Coromant Garamond that I use for callouts or quotes, or if I want to draw emphasis to something, it's really to help emphasize, to set off from the other two. And I'll show you how that looks down in the bottom here in a second. Web and print, same idea. Headlines and display. So your header font, your subheading, give it a regular size and boldness, is it italicized? Your subheadings for the main, Pull quotes, like I said, Garamond, Coromant Garamond. I italicize it to draw the eye a little more. And then your body text. And I just use black and white online. It looks good. It always looks great. It stands out. High contrast. If there's a dark background, you use white. Low contrast, or super high contrast with a dark white light background, you use black. It always looks really good online then. And then lastly, just a couple things to help finalize this idea of branding it together all at once. Things to watch for. Try not to do acronyms in publications. If I put out something and I said ICM, and no one knows who I am or what ICM's about, they might not know what Imagine Church Ministry is. And so try to avoid using those in-language shortcuts in publication. So if your church is, St. John's of the Cross, don't do SJOTC. People might not know what that means. St. John's of the Cross, great way to say it first of all every time. And use that in all your external publications. Try not to use those acronyms. Write dates, common. Make sure you're always writing dates the same. So if you like to do like 3-4-21, use that for everything. If you want to write out the date, use that for everything. It helps people recognize dates on your publications quickly, so they can know how to look for them, etc. Same thing with times. Write them out, don't write them out. One space, capital P, capital M, no periods, o'clock, however you're going to do it. Be very consistent in that as well. Same thing with email, phone. How are you going to write these things out so people know them? So I have a template on here that you can download. It has links to those different color palettes, typography finders, all those things. You can read through it and try to figure some of those things out, and maybe just start to unify up how it is that you're looking on your social media and on your website or on anything that you print out, and try to unify those together. So if you got a good logo, make sure you're always using it right. Find some colors that help complement that. Use good typography that's easy to read, and nice headings, and start doing these things so that your brand, your church, can have a good impact and be instantly recognized. Because again, this is all about growing your ministry so that you can reach people who are still waiting to hear the good news of the gospel. We look forward to seeing it. If you guys have some really cool branding stuff that you've done in your church that you want to share, you can tag us on Instagram or on Facebook. We'd love to see all those things and help inspire other people to do really cool, awesome things together. So thanks for joining me. Let's continue to imagine church ministry together, and we'll see you all later.